Hi everyone, I'm Emma and welcome to Letting Go with Yin Yoga. Yin is my absolute favorite style of yoga to wind down to, and it's this feminine, calming and grounding side of the practice, and it's all about letting go, self-care and releasing. So for this practice today, you will need a block and also a bolster. An alternative to a bolster is also some pillows stacked on top of each other. This practice is all about self-care and self-love too, so if you have some essential oils that you'd like to use or some crystals nearby, please go ahead and take time to really set up this for optimum comfort and for that little extra special space for you today. So we'll start off on our back, coming straight into the practice. Here you can either take a bolster under the knees or just keep the knees out long, and we're going to take a block to the very back of the skull here. So just keep in mind that the block is connected with the skull, not the actual neck. And you want to take it to the medium setting. And we're actually going to come into a release of the head using the edge of the block. So if you have a denser block or a block with sharp edges, this might feel a little more intense than your regular foam block. If you have it on the medium setting and you notice that the angle of the neck just isn't feeling right for you, you might flip it down to the lower side too. So let's just take a moment to really grow heavy in the body here. Soften the legs, release the belly, feel the shoulders drop down, and cultivate this heaviness in the head so you start to feel this compression between the back of the skull and the edge of the block. And we're just going to start off with a little release here, taking a full breath deep into the belly. Good, and as you exhale, going to gently start to turn the head all the way over to the left side. Inhaling back to center and then exhaling all the way to the right. So the key here is to really stay with this sense of surrender, this heaviness. The moment you start to activate or hold the neck is when you take yourself out of the pose. So your only job here is to grow heavy, allow gravity to become your friend. I'm just gently working with the breath, turning the head side to side, working into this connective tissue, into the back of the skull. So usually a big culprit for tension headaches here. And just a great way to wind down and release after perhaps a stressful day. Good, and let's go ahead and turn the head all the way over to the right side. We'll start to work into this cord of muscles on the right side of the skull. So staying on this right side of the skull, we're just going to wiggle back and forth, maybe just moving 1 centimeter each side, staying on the left side. And what you might find here is a tender spot or a trigger point. Again, cultivate that heaviness. If you're feeling really intense sensation, ask yourself to stay with this. If your body starts to tense or tighten or accumulate stress elsewhere, again, can you soften into that? Release the shoulders, relax the jaw. And then inhale back to center. Let's turn the head all the way to the opposite side. And again, just wiggling into this left side of the skull, back and forth. So this is one of my favorite releases just to break up the day. If you're sitting at a computer all day and you just have a few minutes and perhaps you have a tension headache or you're just kind of feeling a little stressed out, this is just a great way to really come back into the body. Just soften down. Good, and let's inhale back to center, take a few full turns of the head. And inhaling back to center, remove the block, place it off to the side, and just return the skull down to the mat, laying flat on the back. Just take a moment to notice how this feels in the back of the head. Good, and Let's take a full breath in here, a full breath out. When you are ready, gently making your way to a seat, however you like. And we'll start to transition into a forward fold here. So you take your bolster or your pillows underneath the knees and find a comfortable positioning of the legs. So depending on whether your bolster is new or maybe a little old, or that's soft or hard, you might like to take the legs quite wide, or you might prefer them a little closer together. And let's take a deep breath in here, lengthen through the crown of the head. Exhale, folding forwards here, releasing the shoulders, releasing the head. So what you might find is that a block can work quite well for this pose. You can rest the forehead to the block. You're just getting really creative with your props however you like here. But once you find your pose and your depth of the pose, focus on the softening, releasing, letting go. And this practice really is all about that. This easing into, leaning into. And sometimes this can be the most challenging thing to ask of ourselves. We're usually always switched on, sometimes even avoiding. So can we cultivate this ability to stay, to find stillness? Relax the shoulders, release the head. And just notice where in the body you can feel this the most. It might be the inner seams of the thighs. It might be more in the back body or the shoulders. And start to find that deep, steady, rhythmic yogic breath here. Knowing this breath is key to calming the nervous system. And essentially for this practice today, we'll be holding these poses around 3 minutes. Just allowing us time to soften into them, release into the tissues, especially these connective tissues of the body. But also allowing ourselves time or our mind's time in these poses. To be fully present, but also to sit with anything that we might be moving through. Whether this be any hardships or perhaps a difficult time. Or anything else the universe might have in store for us today. Just allowing us time to really stay. Perhaps even make friends with. And then possibly even release. Knowing that sometimes the only way on is through. Good. Let's take our last 3 steady breaths here. See if you can release the head a little more, really drop into this pose. And with these last 3 breaths, you might notice how you have opened a little, maybe softened into, released into. Notice any changes here in the breath and the mind. And then gently walk the hands back, come out of the pose just as gently as you came into it. You can release the hands behind you. Take the soles of the feet to the bolster or your pillows and just take a little rock, a little shimmy side to side. Good. And when you're ready, we'll start to set up for a side stretch. So a really cool thing about this particular sequence too is that it focuses on releasing into the connective tissue around the ribs and around the belly, which is often a really big constriction for us to take these deeper belly breaths. So forward folds obviously stretch into the back, and the side stretches stretch into the sides of the lungs. So with this one, you'll need to take the thigh, the left or right, and press it right up into the pillow or the bolster. And then we'll start to sweep the top hand overhead. If you have a block or a pillow, you can take this under the ear as well. And again, just focus here on softening and letting go. If you have come into this practice because the body has been asking for it or the mind's been asking for it, you might be taking a little time to really find yourself here and really release on the mat, and that's okay too. Just keep bringing your awareness to the hips, to the shoulders, anywhere that you might be holding tension. And just every time you do come back, reminding yourself, so this remindfulness, to release, to surrender. We can start to hopefully shift some of these habits of holding tension, of how we hold stress. And with each of these breaths, focus on that deep belly breath. With the inhales, inviting space, sending air to any tightness. Really feel that expansion, especially in the top rib. And with these exhales, softening and letting go. Inhale, invite space. Exhale, softening and letting go. Let's take our last 3 deep breaths here. Again, just using these breaths to notice how you might have deepened in this pose. And then when you're ready, gently make your way back to a seat. And we'll come right into the opposite side, switching sides here. Release the hips, relax the shoulders. Ask yourself if you can drop into this pose a little more. And be gentle with yourself here. Be gentle with the breath. The moment we start forcing or pushing or place these expectations on our practice is usually when we start to lose that connection to it. So allow yourself to move at your own pace, the breath to move at its own pace, and trust that it will take you where you need to go. That the body will soften, the tissues will open, the breath will steady and slow. Last 3 deep breaths here. Really use them to fill up. And gently make your way back to a seat. Here you can take a little twist from side to side if that feels good. And we'll set up for our tadpole twist for the next posture. So for this pose, we'll start to set up for a tadpole twist. So flip your bolster or your pillows the opposite way. You can take a block underneath the head end of the bolster. And if it feels okay to split the legs, go ahead and do just that. Then take a deep breath in, lengthen through the crown of the head. And we're going to find a gentle twist here, aligning the shoulders with the short edge of the mat. Staying close to these sensations in the body, so just noticing if anything isn't feeling quite right. And then we'll gently start to walk the hands forward, soften the belly and the chest to the bolster. And if you're looking for an easy variation of this pose, you can just take the gaze to the side of the knees. And if you want to take it into the full extension of the pose, into the cervical spine, take a deep breath in, lift the head, and turning the gaze to the opposite side. So completely up to you where you'd like to, or how deep you'd like to come into this pose. And then go ahead and walk the hands a little further forwards here so the chest really starts to melt into the bolster here. So a really easy, gentle twist in the form of a nourishing forward fold. Relax the shoulders, soften the belly. Bring yourself back to the breath. Back to how the body is feeling in this pose, and any and all sensations that are present here for you. Can you start to tune in so much that you can feel the vibration of the beating of the heart? The flow of the breath. Just finding your last 3 deep breaths here. Gently walking the hands back, lifting the chest. Again, just coming gently out of the pose, the same way you came into it, and then you can swap over sides when you're ready. Finding that length in the spine, gently turning or shining the heart towards the short edge of the mat, walking the hands forwards. And then finding a comfortable positioning of the head, whether that be turning away from the knees or towards the knees. And softening down here. Walking the hands forwards. And when you're ready, finding your last 3 deep breaths here. Gently walking the hands back, lift the chest. And let's take a swivel onto both sit bones. Let's take a moment to hug the knees into the chest, release the head. You can take a little, wriggle, little rock side to side. And release the neck. Good. And we'll close with a bolster underneath the back here. If you do have any back issues, this gentle extension might not be for you today, in which case you can just come straight onto the back. But if your back is feeling all good, you can gently start to soften back over the bolster or over the pillows. And your option to keep a bend in the knees, you can extend through the legs, or if it feels okay to do so, bring the soles of the feet to connect. Knees soften outwards for Baddha Konasana. So closing this practice with a beautiful opening of the heart after all these nurturing, nourishing forward folds. And sometimes this practice is all about meeting ourselves where we're at, whether we are feeling perhaps a little vulnerable or a little exposed. And with each pose, hopefully finding ourselves able to shed these layers a little more, to release a little more, to let go a little more. And maybe you're feeling that here. Notice how the hips are doing. Allow the pelvis to completely surrender, the sit bones to ground down. Soften the belly. Feel every organ in the torso grow heavy. The ribs melt to the bolster. The shoulders to roll back. The chest and heart to open. Release the jaw, the eyes, and feel the skull melt down. Just take a moment here for as long as you like to give yourself permission to surrender, to let go, to release, knowing that these worries, these burdens, these mountains that we sometimes hold on to, that we carry around, we don't always have to do that. And we definitely do not have to do it alone. And staying here as long as you like, as long as you need. And when you are ready, gently bringing a little movement back into the tips of the toes, the tips of the fingers, turning the head side to side. And then gently making your way back to a seat. Drawing the hands to the heart, bowing the head in. Drawing the hands to the heart and bowing the head in deep, deep gratitude for this practice, this beautiful day. And even sometimes these challenges and curveballs the universe throws us, knowing that there's so many lessons and blessings in all of them. Finding one last full breath in, a full breath out. From my heart to yours, namaste. Hey guys, thanks for watching Letting Go with Yin Yoga. I hope you're feeling a little more lighter. Let me know what you thought, or if you have any suggestions below in the comment section. There's new videos uploaded weekly, so please subscribe for more. Thank you.